joined by Tina Drayson, who is a very active member in the aftermarket and brings a rare level of insight into what's actually happening on the garage floor. So Tina is the operations director at CCM Garages. She's also head of the garage section at the IAAF, an active voice on the garage panel, and a regular columnist to the Auto Technician magazine. So whether you're trying to understand what independent garages, garage owners, garage workers are looking for in an exhibition, or you just want to make your business more relevant to them, Tina is exactly who you want to hear from in this regard, and that is exactly what we'll be digging into today. So thanks so much for joining us today, Tina.
Thank you very much for having me. Looking forward to the chat.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited for this one. So I'll dive right in with my first question, which is, when you walk into an exhibition, what are you actually hoping to get out of it?
It does vary, because if you're on that particular time actively looking for a piece of equipment or a bit of tooling or something, then you already have in your head, you've already done your planning, you know the people that you're going to go and see. For those that are potential maybes that you haven't maybe thought of visiting, I want to see passion. I want to see people engage with you. I want to see activity. And it's kind of that typical saying of, if you want something done, ask a busy person to do it. Because if you see a stand that's got lots of things going on and lots of people standing around, that is the kind of stand that's going to attract your attention, because you just want to, people have FOMO. I'm going to go and see, well, what's going on over there? I'm missing out on something. So it does kind of vary as to whether you're, in my head, already somebody that I'm trying to come and visit, or whether it's just me passing by and you're trying to grab my attention.
So when you're kind of prepping then before going to that exhibition, you're thinking, okay, this is the plan, this is who I want to go see. Obviously, let's say, for example, you're after an aftermarket tool, and there's two that are very comparable. What is it that makes you go to one stand versus the other in terms of the marketing that they do prior to the show?
So it could be people have reached out to me before. It could be I've done my own research online, and those ones that have come up and I've realised they're going to be there, I've made a point of going. It could be people that I've dealt with previously with other tools. It could be people that you already have relationships. But ultimately, I don't think people actually buy on the day. I think what we do is we will have, okay, I'm going to go and buy this tool. These are the stands. I've done my research ahead of time. These are the stands that I'm going to go and see. And what is the game changer for me is people buy from people. I want interaction. I know what the tool does. I've done my research, and all the same tool or the same piece of equipment on a different stand by a different brand is still going to do the same thing. It might look slightly different. It might have a slightly different color, a few different knobs, but ultimately the actual tool or equipment is going to do what I need it to do. The takeaway for me is how you have interacted with me on your stand, because people do buy from people. So when I go away, it's not even going to be price. It's not going to be price based. I'm going to go away, I'm going to think about it. I'm going to reflect on the conversations we've had and the demonstrations I've seen. And it ultimately is more than likely going to be that person that's given me the time to ask what it is I'm looking for, what it is that our garage is trying to get out of having this. Am I going to make any money? How am I going to make some money out of it? And those are the conversations that you're going to remember, not necessarily the demonstration on the day of, this is what my tool is.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of it is, like you said, you can do the research online. You can see, okay, it'll do this in X amount of time, exactly, comparable to the other tools, because, sometimes there's a fine line between the difference. But that relationship with the company, the people that you're going to have a long-standing kind of sales relationship with, is a way that exhibitions can kind of give you a taste of that without you having to really do too much effort on your part. You can kind of get a vibe from the stand. And you touched on something important there, which is, how important do you think it is for a supplier to understand the type of garage that you are?
It is vital important, because every garage is unique. Every garage has their own set of goals, their own targets, their own values. What for one garage might be price related, for us, it wouldn't necessarily be price related. Some garages, it will be more about the quality of the product, and again, others won't be looking at that quite so much. So again, it's important to have a choice, have a selection, and for you to get to know that the people that come in to visit your stand, what their requirements are, what it is that they're looking for.
Yeah. So when you're on that stand, you've gone there to kind of suss the people out in a way, undercover. What is there anything that kind of instantly makes you feel, oh, this isn't for me? Whether it's the stand, whether it's the conversation, what kind of standout things that either you've experienced or kind of popped to mind?
So a big turn off is I find myself that if I travel with one of my male colleagues, the conversation gets directed directly to my male colleague. It's almost like I'm just there as an add-on. I could be the person that ultimately makes the decision whether I buy from you or whether I buy from the stand round the corner. So you need to engage me in that conversation just as much as my male counterparts, because it will be a joint decision. The other thing I think that is quite important is sometimes when you go to a stand and it's busy, which is a good thing for me, and I understand that you're interacting with potential customers already, just acknowledge that somebody's waiting. It doesn't necessarily have to be a conversation, just make eye contact, acknowledge that I perhaps am waiting to talk to you. Because if you don't, what will happen is I'll walk away and I'll go somewhere else, and someone else will have the time to talk to me. I'm not asking you to stop your conversation you're having. I'm just asking for that acknowledgement that you've seen that I'm waiting.
Yeah, there's nothing worse, is it? You're kind of like flagging them down, moving around, and there's no acknowledgement whatsoever. It's like there's kind
Yeah.
of like this wall between you two. And especially if you're going there for that conversation, for that relationship, that could be the key thing that you've gone, oh, that's a red flag. I probably don't want to work with this company. Never mind just buy this specific tool. So, yeah, I imagine that's a big one.
Yeah.
And in terms of then, moving on from the kind of red flags and maybe issues with the stand, what would a good thing be in terms of like messaging? So let's say that before you go, I'm assuming that you plan this quite early. There's a lot of logistics to even get away from the business, never mind then plan where you want to go and make sure that it's actually a valuable thing for your time. But then prior to the show, is there any kind of messaging, any outreach? It could be an invite, maybe content marketing that you specifically notice to drive you to the stand?
Definitely. So the thing that attracts me, I get lots of marketing. To be fair, I get lots of emails, lots of marketing, people selling products. What I always find, and I use it a lot in our own business, is that typical golden circle of marketing. I don't want to know what you're selling. I want to know why you're selling it to me. What is it going to do for my business? How am I going to make money out of this? How is it going to streamline my processes? How is that going to help my technician? It's the why, about why I need to buy that tool from you, or that piece of equipment, or whatever that product may be. Why am I selling it from? Why am I buying it from you? And you get that through the marketing messages that you get and the people that reach out to you, so that when you go and you're looking, you've already got in your head that these are the type of people that you need to go and look at.
No, I mean outcome-based marketing is something that I think that the industry in general kind of needs to do a bit more of. It can feel a bit almost selfish towards the company, more corporate messaging. I mean, we've touched on this on the podcast already, but I think that is a key thing. And like for you, you don't really care about the gadgets and gizmos and how cool the tool is. You care, can my technician do this in under this amount of time so that I can save money or, get the car out quicker. So in that case, I think that is a really underestimated but almost obvious kind of thing that we need to get into. So, in that case, then, have you any examples of when somebody's done that? Maybe you've had something in the inbox where it was more outcome based and then led you to that tooling or that service or whatever, rather than just this is great.
Yeah, I'll tell you what was interesting after the event that we went to at the NEC not long ago. One of the vendors was potentially going to be selling a new DPF machine. And he actually came and had a conversation with me and said, what would I need to be doing on my stand to get you to come and have a look? And I actually said, I mean, we do DPF cleaning anyway, but I said I would want to know, as a business, I would want some numbers. I would want to know how I can make money. So give me some data. Don't just give me a demonstration of this is what the machine does, because that's the easy part. Give me some information of how I can use that to make money. Show me some data. Show me some return of investment. If you do so many of these DPF cleans at this cost, it will give you this return of investment in this period of time. That's the sort of information that I would be encouraging people to share, because I know what the product does. Yours might be slightly different than someone else's. It might be slightly quicker, it might be slightly better. So I think there's this thing in the industry that we forget as garage owners. Ultimately, we are here to make money. That's what we're here to do. And I think sometimes we just forget about that.
Yeah, sometimes things are just too cool, isn't it? So you're just like, oh, I want this next gadget, I want this next thing. But
Yeah,
sometimes it's like, well, maybe we need to look at the investment of that. I mean, from what you kind of touched on there, obviously there's data that you can get on the stand, but it could also be, you mentioned the type of garages have those different goals. If you guys aren't quite cost conscious, but are instead maybe ROI focused, quality focused, maybe relationship focused, maybe an NPS score is more relevant to you than maybe, we can give you 20% off if you order after the show. So in terms of that, I think that that's quite a good follow up piece, isn't it, from the show? Because we mentioned in our episode with Tim Benson that I think every podcast since, because of this is so crazy to me, that over 70% of conversations from exhibitions aren't actually followed up. And I think the takeaway you've given there is find out what type of garage I am, find out what my interests are, and then follow it up with some actionable data that can make me rationale that decision. Because,
yeah,
for the 30% that possibly are following up with you, as well as the marketing messaging you get on top anyway, the bombardment that you're going to get in your inbox or, on the phones after the show, not only does it need to be relevant, but it also needs to cut through that noise.
yeah.
So, I think that's a great insight for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And it has to be catchy, because you're right, we don't get not many people follow up from the show, really. And I know the vendors have, the exhibitors have to identify in their mind what is a real customer, and who isn't. And I get that. So if they deem that I'm not going to be a real potential customer, then they're not perhaps going to follow up with an email, because they've got hundreds of people coming through. But they need to get that. And this is where we go back to relationships. If you have that conversation with me, you will know, ask about me, ask about our business, ask about what we're looking to get. You will know whether I'm a serious potential customer for you or not. And I think another thing that I think is really, really good, which I don't feel enough people, product exhibitors utilize, is get some brand ambassadors on board. I mean, now is too late. The show's in a few weeks' time, but going forward, there's quite a big network of garage owners, and we all know each other, and we all communicate and network in various places. And you will get people to come to your stand if you have a brand ambassador who is within that group of people, because they will go and see that person, and they could be there promoting your product for you because they use it and they know the ins and outs and they know the strengths. But that's also a little bit of a draw to get people to come to your stand, if you've got that brand ambassador who's perhaps working with you, for you.
I mean, that goes down to trust as well, doesn't it? Is that it's easier for, if you're in a network of garage owners that are, either regularly posting, regularly active like yourself, or even that have a similar business to you so they can understand the nuances that, maybe a supplier doesn't fully grasp because there is that distance. There's that trust element, isn't there? A sales guy can say to you all day long, this is the best thing since sliced bread, and
Yeah,
my commission's super juicy on it, so please buy it. But when a garage owner in your situation is saying that to you, there's that level of trust that allows you to make that purchasing decision a bit quicker.
yeah, absolutely. And if you're then in a situation when you're deciding between a brand that somebody is an ambassador for and uses themselves, and a bit of an unknown, and when you weigh them up, there's not a lot of difference in the two. You will go for the one that somebody is using, somebody you know is using.
Yeah. And would you say that's from, so for example, I know you said that the network's quite tight of garage owners, people in the garage space, well, inside the aftermarket. I mean, the whole industry seems to be a lot of everybody knowing each other. But do you think that when it comes to picking a brand ambassador, that the content that person specifically puts out is what should be the factor there? Or do you think it's reputation overall?
I think it can be a bit of both. I think it can be the reputation of whoever that brand ambassador may be, and that will naturally draw people in. But if you've got somebody that uses your product and is making money from your product, if it was a piece of equipment, for example, or is so happy with the product that you supply and the service that you're delivering, it doesn't necessarily have to be someone who's renowned, if you like. It can be anybody, as long as they are having that conversation on your stand at certain times of the day and passing on that message to other garage owners. And I know some of the work that, Mark at IAAF is doing with the garage section is we are really trying to reach out to every single garage, because there's like 30,000 independent garages in the UK. I think we have about 3,500 members now, garage members. But we are trying to reach out to those people that perhaps don't ordinarily come to these type of events, to get the message out there to say, this is here for you. It's not here for anyone else. It's here for you. Come and see what it's about. Come and have a look. Come and meet the exhibitors and what they've got to offer. And then they just need to do their bit when we get them there.
No, and that's such an important part, isn't it? Is the fact that a lot of this setup is literally for them, as you said. And you being head of the garage section, what do you think is the reason that maybe other garages aren't engaging?
I think some of it is people don't find the time to leave their business. They're in a position where they're relied upon within their business on a day to day, and they probably haven't reached that level yet where they can actually drag themselves away for a day. But what we need to do is to get across to them the benefits that you will gain by doing these will far outweigh what you potentially would be doing in your garage for the day. And it's a message that we're just continuously trying to get out there.
And what would you say that those benefits are? Obviously, I know that, being around the space in general, not only do you get a lot more insight, build more relationships, but what are the ones that you as being in your position kind of focus on in terms of the benefits?
It's not just the relationship that you build with other garage owners. It's the relationships that you build with suppliers. And by seeing them outside their workspace, even though they're working at an exhibition, it's not in the same environment as when they come to you in your garage and they're trying to sell you something or give you the latest update on whatever product. They're in a different environment, which for them is quite an exciting environment, even though it's hard work. So come in, build those relationships. And if you've got a couple of suppliers that you use, maybe get in touch with them beforehand and say, are you going to be there? Can I come and have a chat? And don't make it about the day to day. Just spend that time getting to know your suppliers, getting to know other garage owners, and all the things that are available. There's so many things like the consultancy that's available from various people, the training that will be advertised on the day for your technicians, for your front of house, for your parts people. It's all there in one place.
Kind of mentioned, obviously, the garage owners. Reaching out to them and saying, what have you guys got going on? But how do you think that a supplier could entice somebody in, either through an invite or what they have going on the stand? I know you mentioned obviously like trainings and whatnot, and I know that there's a lot of Q&As on certain stands. There's a lot of kind of hands-on demos. What kind of draws you into think that would work to get somebody in that hasn't been before?
Personally, I like hands-on demos. I'm not a technician. I know all the components of a car, but don't ask me to put it together because I haven't got a clue. But I am very hands-on. I want to see things. I want to see how they work. I want to see the benefits of that. So for other garage owners, I suppose, invitation initially, maybe, especially if they are perhaps suppliers that you've already got a small relationship with that you can build on, invitations from them, potential offers of what you can give them if they come and visit while they're there, and just start that slow process of building that relationship, because the takeaway from that afterwards if that gets followed up, is perhaps a visit on site. And before you know it, you've got some great relationship going, and you've got some offers, or you might get first choice of something. And then, down the line, you could become a brand ambassador for them. And it just has to start somewhere.